Yeah, with Moen's finger, I think the decision was to give an extra day of trying to rest it and make sure it's as ready as it can be. We'll have another look at things after practice and see how he is then, and see if there's any more damage to it, and then we'll have to make a decision from there. I think it'd be wrong to sort of look too closely into it without knowing the full details. So at the end of practice, we'll have a clear indication of whether it'll be fit to bowl throughout the next game. I think the best thing about it is you look at the conditions at the moment. It's very English outside. The weather looks in favour to us. It was damp last night. It's forecast to be damp for the first couple of days, or a bit of rain around, so that should play into our hands. And I think it's really important that we don't get too excited about that and to look too far ahead. I think we've just got to make sure that we make sure our skill levels are right up there, and we perform like we did the first 3 days of the first Test match for the whole game. And if we do that and we recognise the key moments, then we'll give ourselves the best chance of winning. Yeah, we've looked at a few different options that we can go to. I think that on other days, plans that we had could work. So I think it's important that we don't lose too much sleep over that, and we make sure we trust all the stuff that we've worked very hard on. As you know, we made him work extremely hard for his runs, and at the other end we took wickets consistently until he had that good partnership with Pat Cummins at the back end of things. So we did some really good stuff in that first innings, and yeah, he did play extremely well. He's one of the best players in the world, and sometimes you have to accept that those guys are going to have answers to your questions. So I think as a group, we've got to make sure that we know that it's a new Test match. It's a completely new occasion, new stadium, new surface, and we do investigate other ways of getting him out, but we also trust the stuff that we've done our research in. I think it's Test cricket, and as a lower order player against an attack like that, you've got to expect traffic around that area, and you've got to make sure you deal with it. I thought it was They played to their strengths, and you can't knock that. I think we've got to make sure as a lower order we're very prepared to face a lot of balls in that area and deal with it better than we did in that first game. Simple as that. I think the most important thing is, if there's a set batter there, is making sure that partnership, they get the most out of it and they work together out in the middle. They have a real clear way of dealing with it and knowing how to make sure we get as many runs out at the back end of that innings as we can. Yeah, I mean, Cookie's a world-class act. He's scored over 11,000 Test runs. He's been one of our most consistent performers for over 10 years. His experience, his success that he's had here, I think, of course, it's not the ideal start to a series, but when you've got all that behind you and the ability that he has, it's not something that I'm going to lose sleep over. I'm pretty sure that throughout this series he's going to make massive contributions, and he's going to perform really well for us. Yeah, I think that it will be different, and I think you look at both sides. When it came to the batting, both sides scored at a lot slower rates than you'd expect them to. Quite aggressive teams when it comes to that, and I think the conditions and the pitch dictated that a little bit. So yeah, it might be slightly different. You might see a different style of things, but as always, you have to be able to adapt, and you have to make sure that whether with the ball and the plans that you have, you've got to make sure that there's leeway in there, and you're doing everything you can to adjust to the scenario and the surface. Similarly with the bat, if there are opportunities to score a bit quicker, then naturally we as a group will try and take them. And if they're not, it's making sure that you don't try and do that at the expense of your wicket. I think there's a place for a bit of banter out on the field, as long as it stays as banter and it doesn't become more than that. And if it does, then the umpires need to make sure that it has a line that's stopped at on both sides at the same time, and it's not. Firstly, you don't want it to become a series where the umpires are just telling guys to get on with the game and getting involved at every single opportunity. I think you want there to be a bit of niggle there and a bit of banter flying around. I think that's good for the game. It's good to watch. It's good to be involved in. It makes for good television. But there are certain things that people know they should and shouldn't say on the field, and I think it's important that both sides, not just one side, both sides get that right and have enough respect for each other's sides to not overstep any mark.